Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the PvP podcast, another virtual episode. And today I'm actually sitting down with a good friend of mine and boxing coach, Mathew Pardo Valesco. And I want to give you a little bit of insight on Mathew. Mathew actually broke free from his corporate 9 to 5 job to start his own coaching business where he now does it full time. But I'm not going to take away any more from him. I'm actually going to let him introduce himself. So, Matt, thanks for coming on the show and sitting down with me.
Thank you, Giancarlo, for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Matthew Pardo Velasco. I started my own business called MPV Boxing. So I'm the head coach there and I run it full time. I had started this, so I'll just go from the beginning. So I used to be a collections agent for Rogers Communication. So it's a telecom company. And like you could imagine, collections is not the funnest job in the world. So
I
it's
used to do it. I know.
exactly. So you know how it
Yeah.
is, right? And on top of that, I was doing it for quite a while before I ended up breaking free. So just to give you a bit of background, I was there during school. So it was also part-time. Then after school, I had been doing that full time. So I'd stayed there for a bit. And when COVID hit, basically you could imagine everyone losing their job, having setbacks financially. So collections was really not easy. And with any corporation, they don't care, right? Bottom line, really what matters. So they still wanted you to reach your objectives, your numbers. So on
Right.
top of that, you have to talk with angry customers, you know, people who lost loved ones, and it
Yeah.
was becoming very, very heavy on myself. Even though, like, you get used to what you do, you weren't happy.
Yeah.
It's not a fun job to have, and I was
Right.
doing it more for like ends meet, just to get some income since I was in school and everything. I was
Right.
not happy. I was I felt like I was just repeating, repeating, repeating. Wake up, do my 9 to 5, finish. And
Yeah.
during COVID, it's not like you could do anything else, right? So it's like you would just have that nonstop. And then what happened was during this time, everyone was on lockdown, and
Right.
a friend of mine actually reached out to me, and she was like, at that point, I used to do boxing just myself. So
Right.
just for my own workouts, fitness, relief. So
Yeah.
she had texted me or called me rather, and she was like, "Can you help me lose weight?" So I was like,
Nice.
"I could help you with boxing. I
Right.
can't really guarantee you with the losing weight part because a lot of that is like in the kitchen on your own time. But I was willing to provide what I know about boxing. So
Right.
the techniques, the workout itself. So, you know, because it was dead in the sense that because it was dead, it wasn't busy, everyone had some time to themselves. We went to a local park and we would just show her some moves, like how to do a few combinations, the basic, boxing stance, punches. And from then she would ask maybe another time, and we did 2 to 3 times. At that point, she saw the potential that I didn't see myself. I was just being a friend and helping her out. So she saw the potential in me as a coach, and she basically just said, "You're hired." I'm like, "Hired for what?" She's like, "Time is money." At the end of the day, she felt bad so that she was taking my time. I pushed to not take her money, but she really insisted to pay me for my time, for what I'm giving her as like the knowledge I had. From there, it just basically snowballed. So I started posting it on Instagram. Slowly she started posting it on Instagram, and the power of social media, right? So like people started DMing me, friends started DMing me, "Oh, you coach now?" Yes, no, like it was a weird time. I wasn't even confident myself in saying that I was a boxing coach.
Right.
Nonetheless, I went through with it. I said, yeah. And for me, it was basically just to help people learn the sport, right?
Yeah.
But then I realized it could be used also as a source of income. So I was doing it part-time while I was still at collections.
Yeah.
Once I had a few customers that started DMing me and were like serious about it. And basically, I did one here, and I was doing outside, right? COVID, you can't go inside, everything is
No.
is closed. So I was going from park to park, really hustling as a side, side hustle basically. And after a few clients, I would realize I could actually do this full time. It's something I really enjoyed because I love the sport of boxing. And because I love the sport of boxing, it didn't feel like work. It felt like
No.
me helping people, right? But at first, it was not even about helping. It was just showing the sport. Then I realized how much like feedback I was getting in terms of, oh my God, this is such a good feeling, the relief of like hitting pads and especially during that time, the anxiety, the stress, maybe people were like, up to their necks with, payments and whatnot. And because they were working out boxing, they were able to really like let loose. Right. So that was the turning point and where it's not just about teaching the sport, it's not just about income, but it's really about helping people have a better lifestyle, feeling better about themselves, their confidence, their mental health, their physical health. So I saw the package that it could give to the people
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they finish a boxing class. I'd get the feedback. So
Yeah.
just to put it a bit shorter, while I was doing my 9 to 5, I wasn't actually reaching my objectives.
Okay.
Mind you,
Okay.
you're not motivated anymore. My focus was starting to shift from that to boxing. Like more and more, I was just like, okay, how do I get a better program, like a better workout? I was starting to basically research more on how to coach better, creating a better session, and how to build my
Yeah.
interpersonal skills. So once that was my main priority, and I realized that, that's when for somehow God and like everything aligned. So I wasn't reaching my goals, and at the I would say, and towards the end of COVID, when was that? 2021 summer ish.
2022.
2020, right? So they were the my managers like sat me down and they were concerned, and they would say like, is everything all right? Do you still want to be with they didn't see the motivation and the enthusiasm that I wanted to work there. So
Yeah.
I just took the leap of faith. I realized I had a few customers going, and if I could give my full time energy, my dedication to boxing, I could actually make this work. Mind
Yeah.
you, I was petrified.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a good source of income, even though I didn't like
Stability.
stability, insurance, the whole thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So I waited, but I didn't want to overthink it because that's the thing. When you start overthinking, you get cold feet and you never actually go through with the decision of, okay, I'm going to start my own business. Okay, I'm going to start something new. Because once you start overthinking, then overthinking is the killer of dreams, right? So
Yeah.
I just did it. I was like on the spot. They gave me like practically an ultimatum. So I'm like, okay, I just quit. And once I quit, I jumped into the boxing, and yeah, and everything, with hard work and consistency, everything came along, set into place, and now I'm here doing this full time.
And sometimes that's what you need, right? Is to, like you come to that point where you're forced to quit your job or you're fired.
Right.
Take that leap of faith to jump into your side gig full time, right? Your
Yeah.
side business full time. And sometimes it's also like when you take that leap of faith and when you're forced to jump in full time, that's when you see your business scale. So you obviously have less restrictions, conflicts, and everything. You know what I mean? So you see that. And so like I could imagine like once you jumped in full time, what did that look like? Now you have you have no more 9 to 5. You're not expected to be somewhere for certain hours of every day. You're literally making your own schedule. You know
Yes.
what I mean? How did that look like? What was that transition period?
You know what? Because I was doing boxing and working at the same time, I was able to get a feel on how I would progress if I left, all right? So it wasn't in the sense that I knew, okay, so in other words, I was doing it more about as a side hustles, and I was doing it outside.
Yeah.
And it came to a point when I quit, I needed a place. So that was the first thing. is like, where am I going to do this full time? And during that time, it was hard for me to get a commercial or
Space.
a commercial place to run the business. So
Yeah.
my source in particular is pretty interesting. Is there's one day I was just sitting down with the family, and I was telling them basically my problem, right? So I was like, I can't find a place. I want to continue this business. I need to continue this business, and I'm not just want. I have to, right?
No more job.
Or job, right? And
Yeah.
it was already September, August. It started. October starts to get cold. November, so there's a bit of pressure. So I'm looking around, and then my aunt tells me the basement is basically unused. Okay, how big is the basement? How can I actually use this in the meantime before I get my actual place, right? So that was my very, very first priority. So I was doing privates and semi-privates outside. That's fine. But my main goal was like, okay, I need to have a place for the next step so I could actually continue this during winter. I looked downstairs where my aunt lives, and basically I just visualized empty, a bag, mats on the floor, a few equipment here and there, and it worked.
Yeah.
I just went into it. It's not like I have a choice either. October was right there, so I just did it. Again, another leap of faith. It's like you said earlier, sometimes you need to be pushed to these situations and just take action. So that was my first step. And then from there, knowing that I was a bit more I was less stressed in terms of, okay, I got a place now. Now I can work on the marketing, social media. Okay, let's start posting more and more, stories, reels, posts, uh,
Yeah.
basically setting up my schedules, everything, my mornings. How does this work? Like it's quick to realize that there's gaps in the day where it's not busy, like from 1 to 4 or 12 to 4 p.m. Everyone's at work or school. So right away from there, you realize your schedule is
It's
basically
open.
split. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
your morning, 7 a.m. to 12, you got a lot of your people that want to train before work.
Right.
And then entrepreneurs more that have a little bit of flexibility, then it's pretty much not busy. Then at 3, 4 till the evening, then you got everyone after work, right? Or after school that come in. So then you get to realize that, okay, this is how I do my schedule. And then the pricing, then you realize you start researching the market. You're right. Like you're like, okay, these gyms here, they're priced this way. How can I compete with them and so forth? So my main thing was location, and then I could work on everything else to really grow my business.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was speaking to somebody the other day who's working a corporate 9 to 5, and we do real estate coaching, and like he wants to know about how he could get involved in real estate as a side hustle, and then he said, like, is it even possible to do real side hustle when you have a 9 to 5? Obviously, the answer is yes. It's a little bit more intricate than doing it full time, right? You need to plan, you need to prepare yourself more. But sometimes like that's what it takes, is to build that foundation before breaking free of your 9 to 5. I mean, many people do it, right? Like
Right.
it is a leap of faith.
It's exactly that. Building the foundation, and mind you, you'll hear people's stories that they've done it just straight off the bat. They didn't have any
Right.
side, but I would say having it as your side and then jumping into it is always a better way, obviously. And I also think your side hustle, that's my personal opinion, is something it's a passion or something you really enjoy doing, right?
Yeah.
Because then you could actually, it won't feel like work necessarily, right?
No.
So
Yeah.
for me, if you ask me what's the working part in my boxing business, it's not me coaching. It's the whole background.
Everything else.
It's
Yeah, it's
everything.
the back end. It's the
So
back end.
the back end, that's really the
Yeah.
work process. But if I get a client, a group class or whatnot, and I'm just in my element, it does not feel like work.
No. No, it's a passion. And so you got into it, you were forced to do it full time. Now you need to integrate systems.
Right.
must have been an issue, at one point or another, whether you were, at the beginning, if you have a 9 to 5, how many clients can you maybe take a day?
Yeah.
Right? Versus when you're full time, you're doing 10, 12, let's say, whatever it is. So when you're going from part time to full time, scheduling becomes an issue. You need to
Right.
integrate systems, processes, like any other business, right? Or even like real estate investing. You have one property that you collect rent from. Okay, you have 10 properties you collect rent from. You're going to need a different system, right? So like, what did that look like for you integrating? Did you have to integrate any systems and process?
First, like you said, it's quite straightforward, right? Everything was done manually in the sense that, okay, you DM me, we book the session, we could take the payment in cash or e-transfer or whatnot. But as it gets bigger, you can't be just on your phone all day texting, scheduling. So first off, you would have to get your scheduling or like a booking system, in other words, right? So that would be my first step. So I got my first booking system. It's called Booksy. It really helped me out in that sense where you would book
Makes it
on your
so
own.
much easier.
Exactly, right? You'd
Yeah.
book on your own, and the payments you could do it through the application, or you could always pay cash or whatnot.
If Revenue Quebec's listening, he did not just say cash, guys.
But yeah, so that would be the next step into, you want to make sure that, for me, I always wanted to make sure that I give the best service when it came to
Right.
coaching. So in order to do that, I had to make sure the booking, the scheduling, the payments were done on their own, right?
Right.
Not to focus on that. Obviously, you focus on it at first, you try to find the best system that works. But once that's done, then I can focus on giving the best sessions and the best coaching programs.
So like, you get into this full time, you're coming from part time, you maybe have 3, 5, you started off with that one friend, and then maybe that led to 3, and then eventually it gets to a point where you have, okay, 5 people that you coach on a weekly basis outside of your 9 to 5. But now you jump in full time. How does your clientele base grow? Is it through marketing? Is it through word of mouth? Is
At,
social media? Tell
at
me how it goes.
first, word of mouth.
Because
Word of
I
mouth.
found you through
Exactly.
Joseph's stories.
So in your case, it was through social media, and social media works wonders, right? So
Yeah.
that's that's my main way to reach out and scale up, basically through social media, right? But at first, it was word to mouth because it's you start from very small, and the business is unknown. In other words, your best references are from other people. So people think
100%.
that this coach is amazing. He knows his stuff. Like he really is there for you. So it
Yeah.
started like that. Once you kind of peak at that point, and then you really need to social media. That's how I really.
It's like the
That's
best
important.
form of advertising because it's free or inexpensive. The reach is tremendous. And I want to read a quote that funny enough, I saw off social media and I want to read it for you. It's related to business and it has to do a lot with business. So let me just pull it up here, okay? Because while you were talking about the word of mouth, it reminded me of this, and I saved it, and I saw this yesterday, and it says, if your customer buys once, you made a sale. If they come back again, you build trust. But if your customer tells others, you build a brand. So that's solid. And you saying that just reminded me of that because obviously, I don't want to name names, but I could tell you that I've referred you somebody to coach, and then I know another girl who referred her friend to coach, who then referred their friend, right, in the same circle. You know what I mean? So it's like, right, you really like built that brand. Like, so let's talk about branding for a second, right? MPV box, that's your brand. Obviously, it comes from your name. How did you? I could tell you something based on my personal experience. I'm in real estate. We do coaching. We help people buy real estate. we do sales, we do management, but I could tell you that I didn't learn about branding until 5 years into the business. I didn't learn about the value and the importance of building a brand, right? So
Right.
how did that whole thing, like, did you know anything about marketing before coming self-employed? No.
I'm
So
telling you, right? You learn along the way. You make mistakes. You learn. I didn't even know. For me, it was just a logo. To be quite
yeah,
honest with you, right? You're just there. Okay, what can I use to make it that? Okay, that's mine, right? And then you realize that the logo is a brand and it actually means something, and that you basically your brand is how you say that, it's a sign of, if you're going to this particular gym, or which is MPV boxing, you're gonna get this experience. So right, you're gonna learn the basics of boxing. You're gonna get a great chemistry with me as a coach, and you're gonna grow as a person in terms of your physical strength or health, your mental health, and everything that comes with the sport of boxing. But to be
right.
quite honest, just the branding itself, when someone would tell me that, I wouldn't know. I didn't know actually. So with
But
time, you hang
you
out with
learn.
people that are with business, and then they're like, oh, like you just said, what's the brand and this, and then you learn.
Right.
I was always in the mindset of, if it's good to be the one that knows the least, because you could always ask questions and you're learning as you go, right? My surrounding was always there for me to, if it's not you or my friends or someone that's in the business, I would always learn from them. So I always think that learning business, it was like so hard, but you just have to be in it,
Yeah,
and then you realize that, okay, it's, they tell you, you just do it, and that's it.
yeah, yeah. Learning, there's so much to learn, man. Business has so many, it's like an onion, right? It has so many layers,
Right.
right? So there's maybe the portion of being the actual coach is the part that you're good at in business, but then you need to learn the marketing, the
Right.
branding, buying systems and structures, right? Like even look for this podcast, you know what I mean? Like before, coming onto the podcast was a lot easier. Now there's a system before you come onto the podcast. There's a booking system, there's an application system, there's so many different layers, right? And like you could be good at one thing, which is, for example, coaching people on boxing, but then you have to learn other things.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And branding is huge. Like I want to go back to this because I think that, like, I was at a conference once and he was talking about branding and he said how, they use Coca-Cola, famous for their branding, right? Coca-Cola's been around since the 50s.
Right.
And he goes, Coca-Cola built such a strong brand that people always order Coca-Cola. You go to the restaurant, you say, I'll have a Coke, please. And they'll say, we only have Pepsi. Is that fine? Yeah, sure, no problem. So even when they're ordering Pepsi, they're asking for Coca-Cola,
Right.
right? In that example that I just said, because that's how strong their brand is. When in reality, very few people could tell the difference between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, right?
Right.
So that's the importance of branding. Yeah, it's like you said, it's just a logo, but sometimes it's more than just a logo, right? Sponsorships are good too, right?
Right.
Sponsoring local events, local gyms, local things. You know what I mean? So that could be a good thing too as well. But it's fascinating because branding evolves, right? Your brand follows you. Just like that
Right.
quote I just read. Your brand follows you. So like tell me about, we do coaching. We help people coach them becoming real estate investors. Tell me about what it's like working with clients with very specific goals in your industry, coaching clients through these goals. What's that like? Like if someone comes up and says, man, I want to lose weight. You know what I mean? Well,
Right.
yeah, like you said, abs are built in the kitchen, not in the gym or the boxing ring, right? So like, how do you like proceed that aspect of it where, because I'm sure some people do this for fun. Some people do this to decompress, but I'm sure some people do this a little bit more seriously, right? Want to compete maybe, or just want to stay fit. So like, what's that process like? You're working with a client, you're coaching them, their
So
goals. Obviously,
like
you're not 100% responsible,
for
but
me, when people come in, I always tell them, you're here to learn boxing. And when
Right.
you're learning boxing, there's byproducts that come with it. You burn calories, you could lose weight, you could deal with stress and anxiety. So if someone comes with me with just the weight loss, I'm upfront with them that if you do not work in the kitchen in terms of your dieting, everything else, that boxing alone will not get to your goal, right? So
Yeah.
I really try to keep them, I want to be honest with them that it's boxing you're learning, right? And if you do lose weight, it's because you've done boxing and you've done
So
everything
much.
else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But me, my goal is really to really help them basically. So if they come to me and they want to learn boxing, it just comes with everything else, right? So they might come to lose weight and then they'll realize, look, it's actually for stress that they
Yeah.
had a heavy day and all of a sudden after hitting a few pads, the back, they realize I can't even go a week without boxing because it's so heavy. Their work or lifestyle, their family, and then they come here for basically a stress relief, right? Another person might be just to learn the sport because it's interesting to see the sweet science they call it. They just want to learn how to box. It's beautiful to see. You see everyone on Instagram, they do the pad work and it's all slick and everything. It's case by case, but at the end of the day, I'm teaching them boxing, right? And what I like about my base and clientele is not everyone is meant to fight. So a lot of people they come and they're like, I want to box, but they don't want to fight, and they feel like boxing and fighting is intertwined,
It's not.
right? Especially in nowadays, you could learn how to box, know the technique, and not necessarily hop in the ring and start getting hit in the face or hitting someone in the face, right? But you'll still get the benefits of the workout.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm giving. So the regular Joe, mom and pop, the teenager there, if they want to come to me and just, learn the sport of boxing without having to hop in the ring and getting hit and everything, you could come to me and you'll still learn the sport, have a great workout, feel great at the end of the day.
You don't necessarily need to box in a tournament to do boxing training.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just I think this because it's such an old sport, right?
Yeah.
It's been out for so long. It's just associated to fighting right away. So all you box and it's like all you fight. That's how they see it, right? But it's not that. It's more, when you box, you're learning about coordination, you're learning about self control, you're learning about discipline, you're working out your cardio, the whole thing without having to get hit, right?
But you're also learning to defend yourself if you in a real life situation, right?
Absolutely. So confidence is really a big part of that. So when you're boxing, your confidence is built and you realize you know how to defend yourself, you know how to throw punches. And what that does is you're able to control your emotions in a situation that's very stressful, right? So if ever you happen to be out and something happens, you know that because you could hurt someone, really you actually hold back and you're like, you know what, I don't want to be in this problem. I know what I could do. I know how to punch. But if ever it comes
They
it
hit you
comes to you,
first.
you can, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You can
Yeah.
always defend yourself. Man, that's one thing. You come to me if you're using the sport as a weapon, you're out. Right? It's self defense and used to help people, used to help yourself, but not to initiate
To hurt people.
people. Absolutely,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But you know what, man, like that comes down to mindset too. That comes down to character. That comes down to like some
But
people
you'd be
just go out looking for trouble,
But you'd be
right?
surprised how people come in with with that mindset at the gym and they leave with another one. Like so they'll come and they'll have so much ego, right?
Yeah.
And then they realize when they're boxing that egos it could be used for good, don't get me wrong. You need that. But if you have too much ego, you have a ceiling of learning. You know what I mean? Gonna you're gonna hit that ceiling real quick because you think you know it all.
That you see that ego come down. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like man, I started doing boxing, and maybe I wasn't egotistical when I was doing boxing. And even like when I got into jujitsu, I wasn't egotistical about it, but it was both cases were very humbling,
Yes,
you know,
very exactly.
very humbling. Sometimes you think you're strong, and some people, like people come into the gym all the time with a bunch of muscles, whatever, but they don't necessarily understand combat sports, right? And
And
it's
it could
like,
be even simpler than that. You could, like you said, people come in and maybe they do another sport and they realize they think they could box and have the same cardio. And when we're doing a 3 minute round, they're spent. They're dead. It's
yeah,
not the same type of energy that's being used. It's very explosive. So you could be a soccer player and you're able to run the field up and down.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, 90 minutes. But you go in the ring for a few rounds, you're not using the same type of energy, the same type of explosion and
No,
breathing pattern and all that. So, and then they're humbled. They're like, oh my god, now I know why boxing is so hard and it's very challenging, right?
for sure. For sure. So like like what's the feedback you get from people you work with? Like obviously some of them love it, obviously like how do everybody is different, right?
Right.
First of all, before I answer the question about the feedback, this better question to lead with is how many people would you say stick with it? Like it's easy to start something, but it's hard to maintain it and actually turn it into a habit.
Right.
But I mean, some people might come say, hey, I want to take boxing because I don't like going to the gym and doing weights, and it's a New Year's resolution. Then come February, they're not there no more. But some people actually continue doing it and make it a habit, right? Like, what's that look like in terms of people? Just roughly a percentage wise, like how many people start
I
something, don't see it through versus do?
I would say most people that start, I'd say set your 70%, 60% stay.
Hey, okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Recurrent, 60 to 70% stay. Some of them they come in, and everyone is a bit different in the sense that budget. Like there's variables that obviously if it would be for free,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Not necessarily, man. Not necessarily, because I held a free event once, right? I did a free seminar and we had 70 reservations because it was free. So we're like, wow, 70 people are coming. But then only like 28 people came. You know what I mean? So like, that the free thing was like a blessing and a curse in that sense, because like, yeah, we had a lot of reservations on paper, but only a few people went through it. I guess in this sense, yeah, okay, fine. Like if I go to the gym and I have a personal trainer that I don't need to pay $100 a session for, I'll probably work out with him 5 times a week
Right.
versus twice a month or once a month.
Right.
Like,
I, everything depends. Not everything depends. When it comes to it, is the type of experience they get with me. And what I provide is really based on you. So if you
yeah,
come and you haven't worked out, you're not working out, I always tailor my workouts to your level,
right.
right? So it puts you at ease at first because everyone comes in and they think that, okay, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna burn me out, he's gonna do this. But I always go back to the basics. So me, I really want to give you the technical aspect of the boxing and build you from there. So they see there's where you start and you progress. So a lot of the times they start knowing that they they don't know anything about boxing. So, and that's mainly my clientele, right? It's beginners. So the ratio of people that stay is high because they know they have all this to learn about boxing. And even at the highest level, you never perfect it. You always have more to learn. So I think that's also a big factor is that okay, they come as beginners, they do their first class, they get like the piqûre,
Taste. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I
Taste
mean,
of
and
it.
the taste of it, and then they realize like, okay, I need to learn more. I need to be better at this. I need to do this,
Yeah.
and it's a good fit. Like you said earlier, not everyone likes the gym, and then they come and they realize there's another form, another sport that provides cardio without thinking about cardio. So one of my clients would be like, I hate running on the treadmill and going nowhere. There's no like goal rather
Go
than to
jog
boxing.
outside.
We're coming to boxing, and it's such they would tell me this all the time too. It's not just physical. You have to think while you're doing the movements, right? So I feel like because they're challenging themselves and they enjoy this challenge, they come back and they're comfortable with me pushing them. And then it just builds that rapport, that relationship. And mind you, most of the time, my client, you build a good relationship and it becomes a friendship, right? It really is something beautiful. You get to know them more on a personal level, whether you like it or not. When you're boxing and you have like the juices flowing, they start opening up. And I always joke around. It seems like I'm not just a boxing coach, right? Like sometimes I find myself being like a therapist. That happens a lot too. So
I mean, I know you gave me a lot of therapy. You know what I mean? I know that stuff. I probably came for the conversation, some of the more, sometimes more than I came for the workout. But
you get both. You know what I mean? Like mind you, like you don't want to be. I don't want to be talking for an hour long, but you get a bit of you get to vent and you get to vent physically. So
yeah.
you get the best of both worlds.
So, like, let me ask you this, and I already know the answer,
Go ahead.
but for the listeners, will you ever go back to a 9 to 5?
It's very challenging having your own business and going through it, but not answering to anyone is one of the best.
Being able to schedule yourself and like take
Being
time.
able to schedule your
I'm
time exactly. It's just it's another. We've been programmed to always 9 to 5 from school. You go to school 8 to 4 or 7 to 3. What everything is programmed, but with this, you have the freedom to build what you like with your own schedule. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's this it's worse than 9 to 5. It's more like eight.
For me, it's like from the minute I open my eyes to the minute I
Exactly.
close my eyes, you know?
However, you decide where you want to put your and it's not the same thing every day. Like the 9 to 5 job, especially in call centers, it's the same thing from 9 to 5. And when when you're doing your own business, you could schedule. Okay, this time is time for marketing. Here it's time for checking in with the clients. Now let's build a program. So you have that freedom to really
But
choose
it
where
takes
you're.
discipline.
It does
See,
take.
the thing is, without the discipline, it's like, yeah, it's great that we're not 9 to 5 going to one place, whatever. But in a sense, like 9 to 5s, they also, yes, it is programming, but it disciplines you to be somewhere on time, finish
Right.
tasks. Whereas, like, I find like where some people struggle when they're on their own is I could wake up anytime I want, I could go to bed anytime I want. If I don't want to start my first training until 12 o'clock, lunchtime, I don't need to, like, but it takes discipline, right? So
Yes.
how do you find it discipline wise? Because it takes a
It's
lot of discipline to stick to a boxing training, but also takes discipline to run your business. How do you find it?
absolutely. And to be quite honest, in the beginning, you get that freedom. You never tasted it, so you take it back. Like you have it, right? So
Yeah.
I, I'm gonna be the first one to say we're like exactly like you said. If my first client happens to be at 10, there's a few times in the beginning I had to wake up at 9 just before my training.
Yeah.
But you realize it's at your own detriment. If you
Right.
don't wake up early and you plan your day and you set your goals and you don't do all those stuff, it's gonna come bite you in the back, right?
Right.
So you realize by doing the actual mistakes. So
Right.
you realize that you have to do it or else who else is gonna do it? I'm alone now. I have no boss. I have you know what I mean? So I learned it the hard way in other words. So it would bite me in the ass in the sense that if I didn't wake up early, do my scheduling, do my calls, send my emails, my texts, and all that, that it would come get me in the later end. So you wanna. It also makes you more. I was not the most organized person as well, so it makes you organized as well, right? So everything
Forces you.
to be organized, right? So
Yeah.
I was able to get my discipline through the mistakes and the feeling of I don't want this to happen again. I don't want
Right.
this to happen again, so I must do it. So that's how it came about.
You've come so far from having a 9 to 5 to having the side gig that you kind of just fell into to like now being full time to now being not only full time, but pretty booked as well.
Yes.
Like you're always working, you're always busy and stuff. Like, where do you see MPV Box in 5 years from now?
So right now I want my own commercial big boxing gym, basically.
Right.
But it's still not just commercial in the sense. I want it to be really like community based.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really
Yes.
want it to
Private,
be
semi-private boxing.
but also with the group class. So right now I'm at Club de Boxe La Salle. So
Yeah.
it's here in La Salle basically, and that's where I run my privates and my group sessions and my semi-privates and all. But I really want to have really my own building and own commercial space to provide uh, from everything: group classes, private sessions, semi privates, and really build from there and be able to be dominating the boxing scene. So not in terms of like fighting, but just the
Yeah.
sport itself, right?
Yeah. Amazing, man. Amazing. And for anyone in the Montreal area that's been thinking about getting into boxing training, looking for somebody to train them, how could they get in touch with you?
You could follow me on Instagram at mpardovelasco. That's really my main place you
Okay.
could get a hold of me. Facebook too, mpardovelasco. Yeah, that's the two main places on social media you could get a hold of me.
Amazing. Amazing. And thanks for sitting down, chatting and speaking about your business and everything. There's so many people out there that have a side gig, a side hustle that are working their 9 to 5 and not really, living the true potential of that side hustle because that 9 to 5 is holding them back. And like,
Also, it's also a lot of people, including myself, you get comfortable. You get comfortable, man. Like it's a drug being comfortable like that and having a safety net, right? And my biggest how we say suggestion or advice is really take that leap of faith. Obviously, a calculated leap, right? Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. You know, just do it, and then you'll see there's gonna be things that'll just follow, like a domino effect, basically, right? So yeah, man, like the 9 to 5, it works, but if you have that side gig and you could feel the potential and you see the potential, go for it.
yeah, man, exactly. Couldn't, truer words could not be spoken.
Yes,
So
sir.
anyone who's listening to us around the world, whatever your side hustle is, whether it's being a private trainer, being a real estate investor, just owning your own online business, anything, just know that you could take the leap of faith too, and you could do exactly what Mathew did with his own life and his own business. Guys, I want to thank everybody for listening in today with us. And for those of you that don't already follow us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe button to keep up to date with more content like this. And until the next episode, guys, thanks for listening in to the PvP podcast.
Thanks, Giancarlo.
Okay.